Hey folks, Traps here. Today we're going to be winterizing a 2018 Rockwood 2509 camper. Now this is my first year with a camper, and it's also my first year winterizing, of course. So what I ask is, please do your own research. I do hope you get a lot out of this video. Now what we're going to be doing this afternoon is closing up the camper, winterizing the plumbing, and discussing how to properly store the camper. And also we're going to talk a little bit about how to care for your batteries in the off season. So we'll be taking the batteries out and setting them aside for the winter. So again, I hope you enjoy the video, and here we go. So we're going to need some tools and supplies before we get started. So I want to go over what we're going to be using today. So first thing we're going to need out of the camper itself is a water filter wrench. These are the props for the refrigerator door. We'll need some basic tools like a screwdriver, socket set, adjustable wrench, and also a short hose, and this is used to pump the antifreeze into the system. Need about 4 gallons of antifreeze. That's more than we probably will be using, but it's good to have a little extra. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so we're going to start by draining the system of water, and it starts with the freshwater tank. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the valve on the freshwater tank. That's on the right side in the front on the 2509. We're also going to, there's some low point drains on this side, on the left side of the camper. There's also the hot water tank that we're going to be draining as well, and then we're going to go inside and we're going to take out the water filter and drain that as well. Okay, on the right hand side toward the front on the 2509S is the freshwater drain. And you can see the sticker on the side telling you so. It's underneath. Now last time we went camping I already had drained this, so it's empty right now, but you can just leave the valve open like that until next season. Okay. Okay, so here we are at the hot water heater behind this access panel here. Let's drop this down. There's 2 things we have to be thinking about in here. So we have the drain is right here, and we have an air inlet right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this drain, and then we're going to let some air into the system, and it should all gush out. So I'm going to step back a little bit because this is likely going to get me all wet. Incidentally, this is very difficult to get off unless you have a socket or a special tool. And I have a socket right here. It's a 1 1/16 inch valve, or rather stopper there, plug. All right, so let's take that off, and well, we should get a lot of water coming out. All right, so it's starting to come out. Now we're going to turn this valve up, flip it over, and it should gush right out. All right, so once this is all drained out, then we're going to drain from the low point, and we're going to step inside and do the water filter. I'm just going to leave that right there and just let this drain. Okay, so here's the low point drain on the left hand side. So there's a hot and cold water low point drain right under here between the 2 wheels. So you just take a pair of pliers and you loosen them. Not a lot of water coming out right here. One. There's 2. So we'll let that drain. Okay, so everything's drained on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the caps back on. We're going to put the valve. I'm going to close the valve here. and the cap. Screw it back on, close this back up. Okay, another thing you want to do is make sure that your gray and black tanks are empty. Now again, we did this prior to leaving our last camping site, so both tanks are currently empty. We're going to put a little antifreeze in both tanks as we flush the system, so I'm not going to remove it until we open back up in the spring. Okay. Just incidentally, while we're over here, I've got my my antifreeze here. I got my hose, and on the 2509 we have an antifreeze inlet. This antifreeze inlet is turned off. The valve is not switched to this inlet yet. It's switched to city water. We're going to change that. We're going to switch that over inside, so we'll be able to use the pump to pull water from the antifreeze containers. Also, don't forget, there's an outdoor shower here, so when we flush the system, we have to do it here as well. And don't forget also the sink on the outside, so we'll be going over that in just a minute. On the 2509, there are 2 access panels inside that you have to be concerned with when you're winterizing. So the first one is over here by the control panel, right by the door. This is where your hot water heater is, and this is where we're going to bypass the hot water heater when we winterize, when we put our antifreeze in. The second panel is over here, right underneath the pantry, or what we use as a pantry, and that's where the water pump is, and it's also where the water filter is. Both of these need a screwdriver to access the panels, as there's like a hinge on this side. So you unscrew the hinge here, then you have access to the doors. Okay, so we're at the first door, the first access panel by the front door. And now we're going to bypass the hot water tank right here. So there's three valves you have to worry about. So the first one is the hot water, and the bypass is right here. I'm just going to flip it. All right, and the cold water is below. We're going to flip that. All right. So, and then finally we want to open the valve in the center. And that one goes up. All right. So now, instead of the water going in this cold line and into the heater and then out the hot line, it's just going from the cold straight to this bypass and then right out. So there's a few things in here we have to concern ourselves with. First is, as I mentioned, this is the water filter right here. To the right of that is the pump. The 2 hoses coming out from the outside, one was for the winterizing, for the antifreeze, and the other one's for city water. And I've labeled them here. Here's city water coming in, or actually this is the freshwater tank that's coming in. And this is the city water. It's right over here. And so that water is going to be coming in. Right now the valve is turned toward the freshwater tank. So we're going to turn that in a little bit so that we can pull water in from the antifreeze. The first thing we're going to do is take off this water filter. So the wrench, again, it came with it. And now careful, there's a lot of water in there, so when we pull this out, it's going to, I put some towels down below, but it is going to leak a bit. So just turn it carefully. And just pull that down. Alrighty. So there it is. Here's the filter piece inside. So I have a bucket right here. I'm just gonna put this in. They say you have to replace this filter once a year, but I'm not sure we've even gotten through a full year out of this. So we'll probably use this again next season. So anyway, now you have an empty container here. We're just going to screw it back in. Good to go. Now what you're going to do is go around and open up all the faucets all around the camper. So you can see I've turned on the ones for the kitchen sink, and The bathroom sink are open. The shower is open. Now also on the outside, I opened the faucet for the outdoor kitchen, and I also opened the faucet for the outdoor shower. That should cover it. Oh, one more thing. You want to flush the toilet as well. So we'll just make sure there's no water in there as well. That valve's open. Okay, so now what I've done is I've gone all around the camper and I've shut off all the valves at the faucets. All right, so everything's shut off now. And now we're going to go and put antifreeze into the system. And we're going to start by turning the valve in the near where the pump is, so that it activates the port for antifreeze outside. So we'll do that next. Okay, so here we are over at the pump again. And now we're going to switch this valve so we can get the antifreeze pumped in through the system. All right. So now instead of coming in through this, the tank, the holding tank, it's going to be coming in through this antifreeze into the pump and out through the whole system. At this point, I went outside and plugged the hose into the antifreeze inlet, and then inserted the other end of the hose into the first bottle of antifreeze. So we're back inside. Here's the panel. We're just going to flip on the pump, and you can hear it start to come on. It's going to equalize, and it should shut right off. And you can see, actually, it just filled up the water filter. So when we turned on the pump, the first thing it did was it filled up the water filter container with antifreeze. So it equalized out the system, and then it shut right off because none of the valves are on. Okay, so now I'm going to go around each of the faucets and turn them on one at a time. First hot, then cold. Just going to wait for it to run pink. And it looks like it is there. I'm going to put it over here so we fill both traps. And do the cold. Wait till that runs pink. Alright, so the kitchen's done. Now we're going to step into the bathroom. Starting with the sink. Start to run pink. Now we'll do the cold. And it's running pink. We'll step over to the shower. Now we may run out of antifreeze, so what we'll do is we'll go back out and change the bucket if it's not running. Okay, so I ran out of my first bucket, so now I'm on my second bucket of antifreeze, second gallon. So I'm going to turn on the shower now. It's running nice and pink. Now it's running nice and pink. Okay. We're also going to flush the toilet so you see pink in there. And we'll just let the antifreeze go into the black tank. And that should be fine. We'll leave a little at the bottom of the bowl. So that takes care of the inside. Now let's go outside and do the other two outlets out there. Alright, so we're at the outside sink. We'll turn that on. And that one's nice and pink. Take that out, that's kind of important. Alright, and the cold. Alright, that's running pink too. Alright, one of the things you have to do before you're done over here is you have to take this little, this is the city water connection. Should be right under the antifreeze line. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this little screen off. And inside is a little white button. So we want to make sure we get antifreeze into this line as well. You can see the button there. So what you do is, while this thing is running, you just press that button in and water will shoot right up. Okay, so we're actually on our 3rd gallon of antifreeze. And we only have one more left to do. So it's the shower outdoors, don't forget this one. So we'll turn hot on. Because we ran out of antifreeze, it's taking a little while for the pump to kick back in, repressurize. Should start working in a second. All right, there's the hot. Turn the cold. Okay, and the cold's done. Okay, and that takes care of all the valves. So we've essentially winterized the plumbing system. And then we can shut off the pump. Okay, one of the things we do when we close down the camper is we defrost the fridge and freezer. I have already done that, and I wanted to point out that you're going to want to keep these propped open so no moisture is trapped in there. And they gave us these little cards, and some people wonder how these work. So what you do is you open up the door and you simply slide the card into the latch there. It'll click, and then there's a little tab right here, and you'll just go to the close it till you get to the tab, and now they're open part way, and you can leave it like this all winter. So the last thing to do when you're winterizing the plumbing is take about a cup of antifreeze and pour it down each of the traps in the outdoor sink, the kitchen sink, and the bathroom sink. Also throw about a cup in the toilet bowl as well. All right, that just makes sure that the traps are all full of antifreeze and they won't freeze in the winter. Now the last thing we're going to do is take the batteries out. I've got 2 boxes here with batteries in them. I'm going to bring this into the garage, and I'll show you the very last piece of this. Okay. For the last part of our presentation, we're going to be talking about what to do with your batteries during the winter. Now, it's very important that you keep your batteries leveled out and always charged. So I don't like to leave them out there by the camper, and I don't want to leave the camper plugged in all winter. So what I do is I bring the batteries indoors and hook them up to a battery tender. So what a battery tender does is it gives a trickle charge to the battery and keeps it conditioned throughout the winter. So it always is full, it always has a charge in it. It's very important that to maintain the life in order to maintain the life of your battery, you keep it charged at all times and never let it drain down. So this tender will do that. It'll give it a little bit of power as it needs it, and it has a computer that will sense that, and it'll keep the batteries nice and in a good working order throughout the winter. Now it's important to note that when you do this, you want to have your batteries in a well ventilated space because they do gas out. So I have these set up in my garage. I also have a lot of space between the batteries so they don't overheat, and there's no chance of a short occurring between these connections. As far as the tender goes, there's a number of them that are out there. I like this one because you can actually charge multiple batteries at the same time. So this one's a NOCO G4 Genius. It has 4 ports. It supports 4 batteries. It will not charge. It will not bring a battery back from dead. So these batteries have to be in pretty good shape. They have to be fully charged before you plug them into this system. And then when you do that, it will charge it all winter. So I'm just going to leave this on and leave this plugged in, and it should be good to go. These batteries will be in great shape and ready to go for next season. So I want to thank you for watching my video. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to leave links in the bottom so you can see how to purchase this device, for example, and some of the other tools that I used. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.